Hello! Today we are here to discuss Last Light.
Finally!
Yeah, we finally got it to the table after finally being able to acquire a copy. So this is the game that I mentioned in previous videos where at Gen Con, I've seen
last year.
It was multiple years that I'd seen this and eyed it because the planets just draw your attention in. And I never backed it, never bought it, and then I was like, this is the year. Well, it wasn't the year because it sold out, but they did say there were more coming in, and then they had a Kickstarter re-release of
second edition
with the expansion. Yep. So I backed the expansion there, but I was able to get this before the Kickstarter. So now I've got a copy. We got to finally play it, and we're going to share our thoughts with you on it. Before we do that, make sure you hit the subscribe button down there and the notification bell because there's been a lot of space games coming to our table lately, and especially this weekend, it's been all space.
And we're awesome.
And we're awesome.
Yeah.
And, Rob's got the beard. So,
that's right.
He kind of looks like Chewbacca. So, make sure you hit those and follow along as we go through all of our hijinks, exploits, and ne'er-do-well things.
Well, so, he's ne'er-do-well.
All right, Rob, what can you tell us about Last Light?
So this is technically a 2023 release. Overall rank is 2092. It's rated 7.5. It plays 2 to 4 people in 45 to 75 minutes. I think that was one of the claims, is that it's supposed to be a fairly quick, not quite 4X game, but kind of gives you those feels. Ages 14 and up. Designed by Roy Canaday from Dice Tower, for those of you who didn't know. Art by Jose David Lanza Sebrian, I'm sorry if I butchered that. Clark Miller and Christian Strain, published by Gray Fox Games. Now, MSRP, the game is $79.99, but we do not have the retail game. We got a little bit more of a deluxe version of the game. But Miniature Market is selling the retail version for $55.99. Geek Market does have an all-in everything that you could possibly get for $212.
Okay, well, that's not bad.
Not too bad.
I think I paid more than that. On this one, first of all, you get the board itself is when the light hits it right, is beautiful.
Really
It's got interesting patterns. I don't know what they're supposed. It's kind of looks like a blending between like flowers almost, and a star chart.
Oh yeah, it kind of gives you a star chart like a Doctor Who, or even the Twilight Zone feel, where you see the ticking clock and all that in the background. It kind of gives you those feels. It's really neat.
Yeah, and then
it's very pretty.
What draws your attention immediately are these planets that are spectacular.
These resin planets are beautiful.
Yeah, and I've got a ton of them in the box because they give you solid ones. That's kind of the default ones, and then this is the deluxe that has see-through ones that have multicolor. And even the solid ones are multicolored, but this one they just kind of pop. And then also there's a little tiny light that you can put in the centerpiece so it actually shines and creates the last light, because the whole concept of this is
gathering light.
All the stars have basically dying or died, and all that's left out there are these white dwarf stars. And you're basically these different alien races trying to gather up as much light as they can. Why? I don't know, because once the stars go out, I'm not sure what they're going to do with that light somehow. But, I don't know if they're going to create their own artificial stars, what have you. But, yeah, it's just beautiful.
It's eye candy when you look at it.
Yeah, now I'm not a big fan of the cardboard bits, but there aren't that many of them.
Right.
You've got these, like, crystal-like...
For the resources.
I don't know, they look kind of like dilithium crystals from Star Trek. You got those in 3 different varieties. They call them, I guess this would be gray, purple, and yellow. You've got these see-through. These are light tokens that represent your victory points, if you will, 1s and 5s, and then damage tokens, which are also shiny and red. They customize every player color's ships, which that's cool.
It's very cool. So we got the purple that's in front of me. Kind of reminds me of kind of like a living ships, because they look more biological in nature. So they're very cool looking. Yeah,
the blue ones I've got kind of the base ships kind of look like the Battlestar, which I'm happy about.
And I played the red, and that kind of gives you like the Space Marines feel.
Yeah. So everything about this is just breathtaking. The dice even are just beautiful. They got real intricate carvings on them, and the iconography it's easy to understand, it's clear. So I think they've done everything they can with all the plastic bits. The cardboard and the cards are where I'm a little concerned. Like these cheat sheet cards that they have, they're warped badly. I mean, really badly. Which is odd because they were bundled with the rest of these tarot card, like size alien race cards, and they're not.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why these four
I just
cards.
think, I think you're going to have to sleeve them. So to just help protect them a little bit better.
Yeah, and then you've got three different sizes. You got the tarot, you got the standard size, which are the cards that you use on a regular basis. You don't shuffle them, but you're probably going to want to sleeve them because you play with them a lot.
Then you got these minis.
Yeah, then you got the minis, which represent your upgrades, and also you've got kind of your hidden bonus card that you're going to get. You get 4 dealt to you, and you'll pick one, which we'll get to in a little bit.
But all the cards are slick. They don't have a linen finish to them.
Yeah. Oh, and you get these plastic asteroids. These things are hollow.
Yeah, but they're still cool.
They're still cool looking. They just represent barriers. Nobody can go into those territories. So if you're playing 4-player, I don't think you even use them. It's really for a 3-player game or less. Also, the board rotates, and that functions very well. But you do have to take it apart every time you put it away. The center planet, they tell you they actually have 3 sheets in the thing that they gave you that all say the same thing, telling you because the planets fit loosely on these, and it suggests ways to get them to stick. So they recommend that you glue these, or you can take paper and get it tight and put it in there to hold it in place. I would not glue them myself because there's so many different varieties of planets that you've got in the box.
The only way I would do it is if there was enough posts for all the planets.
Well, they do have a ton of posts in there, but there's not enough storage for all the planets. Right. So if you put the posts on, you're not going to be able to store them in the box. So it's kind of a catch-22. I just leave it. I mean, they work perfectly fine just standing there loose. It's just when you
just got to remember to pick them up from the base.
Yeah, because if you pick it up out of the top, it's going to just fall right off. But yeah, I think they've done an outstanding job with everything except, like I said, I think the cards could have been a little better. There's no finish. Well, I guess there is a slight finish on the cards.
They don't look.
No, they're very slick. And then the cardboard, it's pretty thick, but it just stands out because everything else is so nice.
Yeah.
The board also kind of just comes to an abrupt end, but it still looks beautiful, so it doesn't bother me so much.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to give this a 9 as far as quality.
I agree. I think very close to 9.5 because it's just so cool.
Yeah.
It's just such a beautiful game.
Definitely is going to attract attention with people. If they're not familiar with the game already,
they're going to stop and want to talk to you about it.
Yeah. So moving on to theme, as I mentioned earlier, the universe is dying. Alien races are trying to capture as much light as they can, and you're basically exploring this area, and it's a limited area, so you're going to run into each other. There's just no way about it that you're going to have conflicts. You've got different cards that you can play on your turn, which we'll go through during gameplay. That give you abilities that let you produce, explore, build, all the different things you would expect in a 4X game. And then, of course, as you move, anytime you come in contact with an alien race that's not yours, you're going to end up having conflict. And that's where the dice come in. So I think thematically this makes sense. It's fitting. I don't quite understand what the races are going to do with this starlight that they gather, but it's kind of cool. And the art is just gorgeous on some of these cards. These alien race cards are beautiful.
And there's a ton of them. You got a bunch of them.
Not to mention just the planets, the boards we talked about earlier. They're all beautiful. And, it's really your personal preference which planets you like the best to put out there. I think there's one that it specifically calls out that if you're playing with, it's kind of, you have to use this one. But apart from that, you can just kind of mix and match. It's really the bases that matter. So I think everything about this is just gorgeous. And I think this is a 10 as far as theme, for me.
I agree. I mean, it's just everything just fits. Mechanically fits so well with the theme, and the art fits so well with the theme. It's just it's thematically it's a perfect game.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the rule book. So the rule book was surprising. I thought this was going to be super heavy. That's why it took me a long time to get to the table. It's only a 16-page rule book.
And that's the claim to fame. It's like a light 4X game.
Yeah. And it's got, first of all, the first couple pages, so the cover matches the box. Mm-hmm. You got the first pages show all the pictures. They have pictures of all the components. It's drawn. It's not a picture like a photo. It's just a drawing. Then it's also it's all referencing the retail version because it's got cardboard for the ships and everything. So at least you can tell from here what's probably going to be in the box for retail, because it looks like all these are replaced with cardboard. All the ships are replaced with cardboard. It does. The planets do have the resin, so you're still going to get resin planets. So it still will look pretty on your table
for sure.
And so it's just a matter, and so everything other than the planets though is going to be cardboard. Yeah, everything. The cards are all the same. So then you get the setup. The setup is a beast on this. It does take a while to get it, put it together, take it down every time. Just be prepared for that. It's the first. It's like it's almost as long to play the game as it is to set it up. You know, it's not. It's really longer to play the game, but it feels like it's a long setup. Then you've got the configurations for different player counts on how you set it up. From my understanding, what they forgot on the 2-player, this is not correct. You know, it doesn't have the tokens pictured. So like on the 4 and 3, they got where you put the discovery tokens. On the 2, they forgot to put them on there. So the picture is incorrect. One thing we didn't mention when we were talking about the quality of components, is probably where it should have been, is there's promos that came with this set that were for the like discovery tokens that go on the planets, because you explore, you're going to flip them, and it's going to tell you what the production is for the different planets, plus some of them will give you kind of perks for discovering it. The promos were like almost a third larger than the rest of them.
They're significantly bigger. You can definitely tell a difference.
Yeah, there's no way if you were trying to set this up, you wouldn't know which ones were the promo ones, which is a problem because the promos give you different abilities.
Well, and especially if you do like a blind draw, it's going to be easy to draw the bigger tile versus the smaller one.
So yeah, it's going to be very obvious. So I think that's one they're going to need to fix. I mean,
they probably did in the second edition.
Yeah, I hope so, because there's no way that you can play with those the way it is. It's just you know exactly what they were. Then it goes through all the different actions. The actions are super easy because the cards represent your actions, and it basically tells you
clearly lined out on the card.
Yeah, that was very clear. Where the problems lie are on the actual ability cards, because you can upgrade your ship, and then you've also got different abilities that happen. Some of them seem extremely broken, and some of them feel like you need more explanation about how this works. And that's not detailed in here because the rules are so simple and short. Mm-hmm. So that's where the problems lie. And if you go to their Board Game Geek forums, there's people asking questions left and right. I still didn't find a clear answer on some of the stuff that I had questions about, but there's already some questions about one of them that we thought was the most broken, that coincidentally there's only one in the deck, and you got it. And you won the game in one turn as a result.
Pretty much.
So yeah, I think there's some balancing issues with some of the cards, but the rules themselves are pretty clear. You have the end of round and what you do with that, then the 2-player variant rules. I don't know if I'd ever play this 2-player. I don't think it would work well.
I don't know. I'd be willing to try it, but when we talk about the cards, that might make a difference. You might have to house rule some stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to give the rule book, because it is unexpectedly easy to get into the game. I'm going to give this probably an 8.5.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't take us long to get into it at all.
Well, I already read it, set it up, and was ready to go, and I had to take it down because people couldn't make it.
I didn't come yesterday.
So it was kind of a frustration because it takes so long to put this up together. I was super excited, and I thought you were coming, then you couldn't make it, and then we didn't want to play 2-player, so we took it back down, and then set it back up again today because we did get more three people. So
well, I'm glad we got to play it. So
all right. So moving on to gameplay. So you've got, first of all, you're going to be dealt 6 action cards. You're going to get dealt 4 cards that are in-game bonus cards, and this is the first thing that the rulebook kind of left out that wasn't clear. Is it said give everybody a set of these, and that was all it said. Well, do you give everybody one color? Do you give everybody one of each color? What constitutes a set? Right. If you do give everybody each color, the colors are really based upon a set victory point count from 2 to 5. Do you make sure everybody gets a 5, a 4, a 3, and a 2? None of that's clarified in the rulebook. So
we randomize each color.
We just randomize each color, but it's possible somebody got all the 2s and somebody got all the 5s, and that doesn't seem right either. So, that was one bit of confusion in this. And
you only get one.
Yeah, and you choose one to keep. So, I look, one thing is, when we played, we had a planet that was like right on our doorstep to start the game. So I tried to pick one that had a color.
Yeah, and I did too,
but I wanted to kind of maximize my victory points too. So I took the 4-point because they're worth more up to 5, but you also have to have more planets up to 5. So, you want to kind of keep an eye on that, because if you think you can get and hold 5 to turn it in, then you don't really have to hold it for that matter.
But you pick that at the beginning of the game.
And then you play it as soon as you get it.
Yeah, because most likely you won't be able to hold on to it.
Yeah. So then you get a graveyard that has 2 sides, one for 2 players, one for 3 or more. It's just a nomenclature thing, and basically it gives you a victory point difference if you're playing 2-player versus 1, but it's mostly about saying multiple versus 1 player.
Right.
You get 2 alien races that give you a special kind of unique ability for your starting or during the gameplay. When we played earlier, I had one that gave me like one of the big ships to start out, because you normally would start with one little ship. I got to replace mine with a big ship.
Yeah, but you pick one of the 2.
Yeah, you pick one of the 2. You don't get to keep both races.
Yeah, mine was kind of cool, where if a ship gets destroyed, it goes to the opponent who defeated that into their graveyard, and when they get so many, you get them back, but they get light for it. Whereas mine, I could pay a resource and I get to keep the ship, and it doesn't go to their graveyard, which could be huge because ships can be expensive to build.
Right. And then you get a player board. Everybody gets the same one. These are all the same, and these represent your ships and basically where you can upgrade them.
And the stats.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the important one. It reminds you what your movement is, what your range is, things like that.
Yeah. So you have green cards that you can apply 1 per ship type. Right. So you can only have 1 of those in play. If you ever want a different one, you have to replace the other one. And then you have yellow cards, which represent additional upgrades that you can play onto the ship. And those you can store. The small ships can only have 1, the middle size get 2, and the big ones can have 3. And this is where you can put extra shields, or extra dice, or extra speed, whatever you want to add to your ship, you can build on. So I beefed my bases up to the point where they were almost nigh indestructible.
Or how I won the game, it gives me extra light when you do a certain thing. So.
Yeah. So there's that's how your board works.
Yeah.
Now the different actions, each turn you're going to play a card, and
there's blue cards too. So the blue cards don't attach to your board. They attach to the side, and you can have as many of those as you can build.
But you can only have 1 of each named card as a civilization. Yeah. So now you've got 6 action cards, and this works very similar to Concordia. There's one that's a refresh, and that triggers the end of the round for you.
But that's the odd part of the game. So the cards are numbered.
Yeah.
And the refresh is number 5, whereas the command is number 6.
Yeah.
We thought you would think the refresh would be number 6.
Yeah, it was kind of odd.
Just a little weird, but not a big deal. Just a little weird.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because of the fact that they wanted to make sure the refresh happened before, because when you play the turn, you go from the lowest number to the highest number, unless 2 people tie, and then you go based on turn order. So turn order is semi-insignificant in the game, because if it happens during combat and 2 people are combating, as far as doing the command action, then you're going to end up playing simultaneous, if you will, similar to Axis and Allies, where one person does damage, the other person re-rolls, but they also roll for those ships that got destroyed. So you don't have casualties that are not getting to fire back.
Right.
So the different actions you can take going in order. Research is the first one, and it will trigger when you get a research. You get to gain 1 light first of all for all the for every 4 upgrade cards you've played, whether it be upgrade or civilization cards, any tech.
You just
tech
tap
cards.
all the tech cards.
Yeah, so you add up how many you had divided by 4. That's how much light you produce.
Right.
Then you're going to get to draw 3 new tech cards from the deck, keep 2 of them, and put them in your hand. The other one gets discarded. Then you can build any number of those cards. There's a cost in the middle of the card. It's kind of odd. It's where it's placed because normally you see the cost. You're used to it being in the upper right,
or somewhere,
or upper left,
it's
or
right
whatever.
smack dab in the middle.
But in this case, it's right in the middle of the card. It's actually clear that way. I kind of liked it.
I did. I kind of liked it too.
It made it very obvious where the cost was.
And the nice thing about it being in the middle is it not just obvious, but it's big.
Yeah.
Whereas usually if it's in the corner, they have to reduce
Those little
the size.
icons. Yeah. So you can build any number of them. As we mentioned, there's limitations to how many you can attach to the ships, and
depending on where you put it.
And the civilizations, you can only have the same. They can't have the same name. So those restrictions aside, you can build any number of them. You have the resources for. So that's research. The second action is mine. This is how you get resources. So if you have any there's little excavation. They look like
They totally look like Stargates.
Portals.
Yeah.
But you can build Stargate portals when you do a construct action. We'll get to that in a minute. But if you have them on your board and wherever they're on, they will produce 1 unit of
an icon.
Of that icon.
Of that resource.
So, it may be these gray resources. These are the basic ones. You'll start the game with one of these too, by the way.
Yeah.
There's purple, which is kind of the medium level one.
Which is worth 2 gray.
Yellow, which is the top one, which is worth 2 purple. So
right.
Vicariously it'd be worth 4 gray.
Right.
And then sometimes you might get one that generates victory points even. Yeah, we found one of those. You got different planets will do different generations, and that's what these little half circles represent as you go through and discover them.
And you have a base that I guess it's called
it's your base ship.
But it's your base ship, and that has up to 3 different areas that you can mine stuff.
Yeah.
So you got a purple and 2 grays.
And nobody can really attack or take over your base ship, so that's always available to you.
And that's nice too, because there's no true player elimination.
Exactly.
In that regard, so
the next card is the construct. You can build ships, or you can build extractors. You can build 1 extractor per turn, but you can build any number of ships as you've got available to you.
And our handy dandy little board tells you what those ships cost.
Yep, the board has the unit costs are pictured on each ship. Now, if you have them in your supply, you can build them. If you don't have them in your supply and they're in somebody else's graveyard, you can still build them, but you have to pay whatever your building costs to that person. So it adds kind of insult to injury.
A little bit.
They attacked you, they destroyed your ship, and now you're
pay
buying it back. So it's kind of frustrating.
Until you get up to 4. Once you get 4, anything 4 in that graveyard, you get those things back, but they get victory points.
Yeah, they get a light for having given you back your 4 ships or extractors.
So it's still a little bit insult to injury.
Now you cannot do is build an extractor because there's no cost associated with an extractor. So you can't buy one without giving any kind of cost to the opponent. So the extractors are stuck on their board until they get 4, and then they get returned. So that's construct. Then you've got the next action is trade. So trade, you can basically get 2 of your choice of the options here. So the first one is you can just gain a free starting resource. So if you wanted, you could trade, you get 2 of those. You could do that twice. Or you could do, I can trade 2 gray for 1 purple. Or I can trade 1 purple for 2 gray. You can go downward too.
One way or the other.
Similarly, I can take 2 purple and to make a yellow, or a yellow into 2 purple. So I can do any combination of those, or I can even trade 2 yellow to become a victory point. That we didn't do the entire game, but because yellows were so valuable.
Yeah, they were hard to get.
But if you had a bunch of yellows somehow that you managed to accumulate, that might be worth one way of generating victory points. If you do a trade action, though, by default, you have to give from the bank a gray to one of your opponents.
Which kind of makes sense thematically because you're trading, so there's a cost to that trade.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is. But you get to pick who you give that to.
Yeah.
So we made it fair. And we
we tried to go and balance it out. I tried to avoid trading as much as possible, but the problem is...
initially, early in the game, I had to, though, because you don't get change.
Yeah.
So I exchanged the purple for 2 grays so that I could build some cards.
So I had mass production going because every time I kept discovering a planet, it had an extractor as a free bonus on it. So I was like just generating stuff out the wazoo. So, all right. So then you've got the refresh card. That's where you basically the cleanup card. Again, we've mentioned it's the 5th card.
You get all your cards back, but you also get to refresh any of the cards you have to use during the game.
Yeah.
So if it says you have to exhaust it, then you get to get it back.
Yeah. So the last card is command. So here, this is where you're going to move all your ships. All ships have a movement of 1 by default, but there's upgrades that let you move additional spaces. And then it also has a range on them so they can attack in the space they're in by default. Now, you may be able to upgrade that so you can attack adjacent spaces.
Or even multiple.
Yeah. So then you're going to move, all your units have to move first. So you move everything you're going to move as far as you're going to be able to move it. And then, once you're satisfied, you've placed everything where you want it to be, then combat is going to resolve. So when combat happens, all the spaces that are occupied by an opponent, you're going to attack in. Now, the card says each of your units may attack a target in a range, but the way the rulebook implies, all of your units have to attack.
And that's the way we played it.
Yeah. So if you're in a set base, you can't by default share it. You have to try to attack. If you do attack, then you're going to roll 1 set of dice for each type of ship. You can't roll them together. They have to be separate because the abilities may be different for ship to ship.
And each size ship has a different attack value.
Right. So you're going to roll the attack, and it's going to tell you either it's going to have a hit symbol in it, which looks like a kind of a starburst, or it's going to have kind of a hit symbol that has like a little arrow circle in it, which means you hit, but you hit so hard you actually get to roll another die. And you could potentially daisy chain. I did the first attack. I did daisy chain several of them where I hit multiple times.
You hit hard that first round.
Yeah. So, you're going to do that. Then there's also one where you hit and trigger a special ability on your ship. So if you have a card that gives you a special ability based on that icon, you can trigger it. Or there's one that just has that special ability. And then, of course, there's one that's got nothing.
Which is really, I think that kind of adds to the game as far as how light it can be.
Yeah.
Because it's, for this type of game, it's pretty easy to hit.
So if you're trying to take over a planet, though, you got to be careful because you cannot take over a planet if there's other opponent ships in the space area around it. So you have to destroy their ships first. If they happen to have one of their excavators on the planet, you have to have one of your big ships because it's the only kind by default that has a bombardment action. So it will, if you don't have that left over behind that you haven't attacked with, you're not going to be able to take over the planet. It took me 3 rounds to take over a planet because I had to
get his
clear
ship
the ships.
Yep.
Then I had to bombard the next turn. And then I'd already played my construct action, so I had to wait till the next round before I could actually construct it and build on it.
Now, there are upgrades so you can add that bombardment ability to other ships.
Yeah. So that's basically all there is to it. You play, but the thing is if you attack and the opponent didn't play the attack card, they don't get to counterattack.
Yeah, they don't counterattack at all. You have to both play.
That's one thing I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, I think the same thing. That's kind of brutal.
Yeah.
It just not. And then thematically too, it just doesn't make sense. If you got 2 ships, they're going to attack each other.
Yeah.
They're not just crap. I can't attack you, but go ahead and hit me.
Yeah. The other thing that we found was I was dominating the game when we were playing. I had way more production. I had ships everywhere. I had uber powerful base ships. I was really controlling the game. And in one turn, you came out and just won the game. And it's because of the central area. Basically, at the end of the round, when a rotation happens, after everybody's passed, you're going to score points based on how many of the planets you control in the 2 rings. You'll get 1 for each one in the outer ring, 2 for each in the middle area, but you get one for every ship that's in the center right next to the star. And it's kind of like a King of the Mountain aspect of the game.
And I had 2 cards that made it significantly more powerful.
You had one that you attached to a ship that increased it by, 3 times?
No, so I had one card that said that this ship type gained an extra light when I harvested the White Dwarf.
Yeah.
So I had 3 of those, so that means I got 6 points. But then I played another card that had a discard that I got an additional light for every ship.
Yeah.
And I had 6 ships that was in that. So
Yeah.
I got 12 for that card. I got 6 for the other one.
And you played a 20.
Yeah.
So in one fell swoop, you got 18 points.
Yeah, I scored, and plus the planets that I controlled,
Yeah.
I got 18 points in one turn, and I already had like 8 light beyond that before that. So in one fell swoop, I won the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was just ridiculous how easy it was to win the game. Because, I mean, at that point, if you have that card, there's no reason not to just hoard your ships into one space.
And that's
then
what I
move
did.
it all in.
And not only that, I also had cards that allowed me to teleport ships in.
Yeah.
So I was able to get an armada sent into that White Dwarf section.
And it was like, and even if I had put all my ships in the space, the only thing I could have done that I could see that would have prevented it would be to put all my ships like surround the inner ring.
Yeah.
Because then you would have had to done combat at each one. You still would have wiped me out though, but you wouldn't be able to move them in to get into that center ring. But it seemed pointless. I mean, it was like, why would you do that? Because you're basically sacrificing yourself to stop that from happening. I read online, somebody asked about it, and they said, yes, it's powerful, but there's lots of powerful cards, and there's only one occurrence of that card, so of course we got it in the first game. So, yeah, it was just very bizarre that power was so tremendous, and to have it, you couple it with that other one, it seemed a little broken. Because, to swing the game as much as that did. That part I did not like. I did not like the fact that a game could swing on the matter of luck of the draw and being able to, basically, I mean, there was nothing to stop you from building the ships. If you moved into the center circle, even if I had put all my ships there and we've combated and you didn't destroy them, you're still there. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't fire back, so I can't do anything to prevent it. And you had the ability to also to get your cards out of the recycle them, whereas I didn't. So Adam had that ability, so he could have contributed, and we could have co-opted potentially done something to slow you down on it.
Right.
But I don't know if it could have done anything to stop you. And certainly I didn't have any means to stop it. Even with all my power, it wouldn't have stopped you. So it seemed a bit overpowered. That said, apart from that, I thought this was a very interesting game.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool being able to do that ability because it was uber powerful, but it's definitely broke, and it wasn't fair because there wasn't any way anybody could have stopped me from doing it because I had everything in that space, and there was no one to contest me. So even if Randy was able, he would only be able to attack me, and then as long as I stayed alive, I've been able to move into that spot and just constantly score points.
I mean, yes, I could have wiped out a lot of your ships in one turn.
Yeah, but I would get them back, and then since I was...
And that was the other thing. So you could cycle them back.
Exactly. Since they were attached to my board, I could just get my ships right back within a couple of rounds. I'd be right back in there again.
But you had to pay, I think, to get them back.
but I had plenty of resources.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, I mean, it seemed like a very odd way to allow for someone to win the game. When I like games that give you a variety of ways to win, but that seemed like it came out of nowhere and was
it purely luck of the draw? Maybe, but it's the fact that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
So
and the fact that I had no idea you even had those cards. I mean, I off the side of the table.
And maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's a house rule you can do is that you just make sure that if you have that card, you let everybody know that you have that card. So then they can kind of plan accordingly.
Well, if you're in a house rule, just take the card out. I mean,
take the card out.
If you're going to do that, just remove the card. But yeah, I think that was really the only agreements I had with it. But I mean, honestly though, I don't know if it would even be not a broken strategy just to do exactly the same thing without the card.
Yeah.
just bring them all in the center, and it doesn't matter whether somebody attacks you or not. You're still going to end up with a lot of ships there.
Yeah. So even if you're getting 2 or 3 points around, you're still getting points.
Yeah. So I mean, if they get destroyed, that's the only thing that's going to prevent it is somebody destroying the ships. But then you get them back to rebuild as long as you've got resources. I built all my ships really quickly because I had so many resources. I was building things out, crazy, and I had upgraded everything, especially the base ships, to the point where they were, like I said, darn near indestructible and super powerful.
Right.
But that's just one type of ship, and it could only do so much to, targeting damage.
Sure.
So, although
but I still had a good time playing it.
Oh, I did too.
Because even though you were dominating, but I don't think it was like truly one-sided because I did have a pretty good size armada.
Yeah.
And so I think I would have been able to, if I knew that if I wasn't focusing on getting to that center section to win the game, which I knew I was going to, I would have been attacking you, and that would have been a different story.
Yeah.
So I just think I knew that I had that strategy and I was going to utilize it. So,
but that would have been a more satisfactory ending. I would have been perfectly happy if we were combating because I would have won some, you would have won some. I think it's the whole concept of like playing like an Axis and Allies game where you're playing and yes, you're going to win some battles, you're going to lose some battles.
But that's not true, Randy. That's not true, Randy. You know that I can't roll dice for the dark.
You say that.
It's true.
But you go, the fact is though you win some, you lose some, and the whole game is you have to adjust your strategy accordingly. There was no chance of adjusting strategy. It was just boom, here it is. I won from nowhere. So I did not like that aspect of it. Yes, it's fixable. I think to some extent by removing that card. That sounds like the person who designed it intentionally designed it to be powerful because he made it where you had to discard the card. But still,
and only one.
If the game ends
and
because
a sizable
of it,
deck, and it's a sizable deck of cards.
But if that's in there too, and you have a sizable armada, and you have all the perfect storm of things that happen. He said that he only seen it happen like a couple of times during the hundreds of gameplays. I don't see how it couldn't just happen every game. It seemed if it came up. The odds of it coming up is probably where the infrequency happened. So, but apart
overall,
from that,
what do you think? What would you score?
That really brings it down for me. The fact that yes, there's ways to adjust it, like I said. But the fact that even without that card, I think the fact that you could just King of the Mountain it and pour all your ships right into the center, and the fact that the combat doesn't resolve, if you don't destroy everything, you could still just win in a few rounds by having all of your stuff gathered together. You'd lose your planets on the outer rim potentially that you've accumulated, but why not do it? It's free victory points. So given that, I'm probably going to pull it down. I think I'm going to be probably about a 7 on this. I probably would have been more like an 8. I'm probably at a 7.
I think that's a good score because, granted, I'm the one that won that way, but I don't think I would have been like you. I wouldn't have been feeling that great if I lost that way. It wouldn't have felt fair. It'd have been like, oh man, if I was that lucky type of thing. So I think that's a good score. And I think it could be a totally different game if you take that possibility out and knowing that you really had to be more strategic in how you play the game.
I think if the combat were reworked in some way that you don't have where one person gets attacked and they can't fight back.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well because it does seem very one-sided unless you both, or if you can like coordinate. It's like, hey, I'm planning on attacking, but that gives away your strategy, so I guess that kind of defeats the point. But I agree. If they were to rework the combat a little bit to where to make it more, a little bit more fair as far as attack versus counterattack.
There's things I love about it. I love the card play,
for sure,
triggering your abilities, and the first round.
And the races and the special abilities are super cool.
The first round, everybody played cards pretty much the same way, but after that, it was varied every round, and I like the fact that it diverged after that point.
Right.
So I think that there's a lot of good here, and obviously it's a beautiful game. I just wish that the combat worked a little more smoothly.
Who knows? Maybe that's something they changed in the second edition a little bit. I don't know if they changed anything in that version or not.
I don't know. I mean, there's people asking these questions and they're being defended. The cards the way they are now. So I would expect
Maybe not,
it's not. So, well, that's our thoughts on Last Light.
What did you think of it?
Yeah, if you've got a chance to play it, look, if you were one of the lucky ones that got it at Gen Con last year, let us know, because I saw a few people carrying it around, up there.
Yeah. And then, or, what do you think of that combination that I was able to utilize? Did you get to do it, or do you think it's fair? What do you think of that?
Yep. All right. Until next time, don't try not to take over too much of the universe, but, come back.
Yeah, don't be an evil despot.
Don't let it go to your head. Come back and visit us again.
Bye.
Bye.